another speakers, Dr. Bir Bahadur Khanal Chetri, Professor and Dean at Institute of Forestry, Tribhuvan University. And his research interests includes forest poverty linkage, decentralized forest management, and rural livelihoods. Beside his research, his responsibility includes overseeing all academic and administrative operations at Institute of Forestry Nepal. And today he will be talking about the summary of community forestry in Nepal. And the time is here, Dr. Chetri.
Okay, just a minute. All right. Am I audible? Am I hearing? Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Distinguished symposium participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the Professor Song for bringing us in this symposium. And thanks to Dr. Lu Ao. She was just presenting the Nepal case related to forest, water and livelihood linkages. And we are very happy to be the part of that project, the Institute of Forestry through University Nepal. And particularly, it is not based on the empirical data. Whatever I will be talking is based only on some literatures and my own experience working with community forestry in Nepal. So let me proceed further. I would like to share it first. Yeah. So my presentation will first summarize some history of forest management, and then the different community-based forest management models. And it will be linked up with this emergence of community forestry in Nepal and some achievement based upon the community forestry and some challenges ahead. So if we look on the history of Nepal forest management, sorry, just a minute, just plugging me. Here, before 1957, the Nepal's forest was ruled by some, ruling elites. The forest was particularly controlled by autocratic regime, and it was some sort of privatization of the national forest, and several deforestation starts from that period. And then realizing that in late 1957, the all Nepalese forest was, nationalized because the deforestation, the control, command and control system was then introduced because in order to protect the forest, and but the bureaucracy was not able even to control the deforestation ongoing. Forest was taken as some sort of open access resource, and at the same time, several studies focusing on Nepal were published on the Himalayan degradation theory that was based on the Nepal's study at that time, and that was very popularized in political ecology at that time. So the Nepal's forest was, at that time the deforestation was massive, and because of which several other unwanted outcomes were resulted not only in Nepal but also in Bangladesh and in the South Asia region. And realizing this, in the late 1970s, the government started to introduce the participatory forest management approach. And then the different policies, master plans, act, regulations were developed. And the new slogans, forest for prosperity, forest for poverty reduction, improving livelihood, those sort of things were also emerged. And community-based forest management policies, particularly in 2015, and then recently new Forest Act 2019 is also there in order that it is people are the bureaucracy. The government is trying to link up the forest resource with the prosperity of the people and the development. So I will be little bit elaborating it later on. Why is it not moving? Oh yeah. So nowadays, the government of Nepal has divided in terms of ownership rights and responsibilities. Whole Nepalese forest can be classified into different components, particularly the based upon the tenurism, private forest and national forest. These are the two categories. Private forest is very negligible, whereas national forests are managed by in different categories. One is based upon the mainly on the community-based forest management approach, which the community forestry is one of the leading program. Similarly, we have a leasehold forestry model, collaborative forestry model, religious forest, and also there are some remaining forest which is managed by the government itself. And from the conservation perspectives, several national parks and wildlife reserves are there, and some conservation areas, buffer zone, and protected forest, where some sort of communities are also involved in conserving and utilizing the forest resources. So in that way, particularly these four different models: community forestry, leasehold, collaborative, religious, and also the conservation areas, buffer zone, and protected forest, some communities are involved. So I will be talking more on these models rather than national parks, wildlife reserves, and private forests. Sorry. So the community forestry, it is the Strong Policy Act 1993 promoted community forestry. The objective of this community forestry is to conserve and utilize the forest resource by the community by the forest user households. And collaborative forest, it is designed in order to fulfill the need of these distance users, and also some regional level, and also contribute to economy and also economic stability. And leasehold forest is more focused on poverty reduction, and conservation areas is to conserve the nature and natural resources involving some people. And buffer zones are also the almost similar objectives. And there are these days, after in 1995, based upon the Forest Regulation 1995, government has also declared some protected forest. The major objective of which is to protect the forest for special environmental and scientific or the cultural importance of any specific areas. And also we also have some religious forest. These religious forests are the objective of conserving, declaring religious forests is to develop, conserve, and utilize the national forest of religious place. I'm not getting it down. Right. Sorry, it's sorry. So let me present some sort of data nowadays. It is the data presented by the government in 2020. In community forestry, including the buffer zone, where the community buffer zone community forest is there, till date, more than 23,000 forest user groups are formed, and around 2.6 million hectare of forest is managed by these communities, involving 3.2 million populations. And almost half of the country's population are benefited from the community forestry. And this is the major priority program of the Nepal's government. And in total, of the community-based forest management models, more than 80% of the management is under community forest, and it covers around 39% of the total forest, total country's forest area. So community forestry is the major vehicle for conserving forest and also for the rural development in Nepalese context, particularly the hills, and it is expanding also in the Tharais and the high hills in Nepal. And similarly, there are some other community-based forest management models, which are though small but are very significant, and in total there are around more than 31,000 forest user groups. They have been utilizing the forest resources. Almost half of the country's forest is under community control, we must say like this. So, but we will be talking more on the community forestry now. I'm having problem with sorry for this. Is it going? It's slow. So in case of community forestry, 100% of the benefit goes to the communities. It is initially it was based on the subsistence needs to fulfill the subsistence need of the communities. Now some sort of the commercial use is also promoting within community forestry these days, and in all other types of models, mainly the joint management from the government and the communities is there. So how community forestry is now emerged in Nepalese context. So as I already said, before 1957, forest was treated as open access, and that was managed like of the talukdar system, means the ruling elites used to control the forest resources. And realizing this, the forest, the deforestation was going on. That's why government started nationalizing the whole forest lands of Nepal. And this the nationalization also, the command and control system also does not work, is not able to halt the deforestation going on. That's why there was a forestry conference held in 1975. And they said that the fences and guard approach is failed to control the forest. At the same time, we were blamed that because of the deforestation in the hills of Nepal, several floods and other things were happening in the southern part of Asia. So realizing this in 1976, government handed over the farming to the panchayat, local government, panchayat, in the name of panchayat forest and panchayat forest. Protected forest. Panchayat forest was on the degraded one, and panchayat protected was as a little bit the better forest, where the revenues were fully shared with the local government. In the panchayat forest, all with the local government, whereas in panchayat protected forest, it was all shared with the national and the local government. And this panchayat and panchayat protected forest was doing good, but the master plan for the forestry sector in 1988 realized that the panchayat is not good to manage the forest resources, because the DFOs at that time, the local bureaucracy at that time, used to say that the institutions, panchayat is not a good institution because they need to look after several other development activities. So it has to look, it has to change the policies. So we have to form the different community groups and hand over the forest resources to the local communities rather than the panchayat. So in 1993, the Strong Forest Act came, and that act and the regulation in 1995 started in forming the community forest user groups rather than the panchayat and panchayat protected forest. From that time, the community forestry was expanded rapidly, and several community forest user groups were formed. The forest patch, National Forest Patch, was handed over to the local communities, and they were asked to conserve the forest, to protect the forest, and also utilize in a sustainable basis to fulfill their basic subsistence needs. In that way, community forestry was evolved. And then after 2000, though there were some attempts to change the Forest Act, but countries were, was under unrest because of some civil conflict. So government was not able to to develop the new act, and several guidelines circulars were formed, and it was slowly moved from some traditional types of forestry to some sort of a scientific forestry, and then proper approach was introduced. How can we make a good governance within the forest user groups? Those things were introduced, and then from 2014 onwards, the scientific forest management guidelines were also drafted and circulated. And then in 2015, new constitutions was there in Nepal, because from the unitary system, the Nepal was moved to the federal system. So we have now local government, provincial governments, and the central government. The Nepal's 2015 constitution says that the power of forest government need to be, regulate from these three different governments. And then Nepal government bring the Forest Act in 2019, which says that fair and equitable revenue and benefit sharing across the different level of governments, region and communities is very important. It has been spelled out in Forest Act. Now the government is drafting, and it is almost final, the forest regulation. Based on this Forest Act and forest regulation, our communities will be managing forest and also sharing the benefit with the government, particularly mainly the local government, and the negotiation between different stakeholders, the federations and the government is going on in drafting the forest regulation. Okay. Now in summary, the community forest, Nepal is the leader in community forestry. It has almost 50 years of experience in different forms, and it is the major program, and it has a strong legal and institutional foundation. And in community forestry, government used to form the community forestry user groups. They are the autonomous, self-formed local institutions, and they have some, almost all of the rights, perpetual succession. The CFUGs are entitled to develop their forest, utilize their forest, sell and distribute, and fix the price based upon the approved operation plan through the DFO. So the key issues here, let me highlight here the key features of community forestry. In summary, is that the institution, the formal community is formed, and the clear resource boundary is also formed, and formalization of the rules and regulations are there. The right of the community through the rules, regulations act is also there, and through this different forest formal structure is there, and then the communities are sharing power and benefit with the related to the forest resource management. There may be the different forest user groups and the government, and the collective roles and rights is there within the communities and between the communities and between communities and other layers of stakeholders and the governments. So this is the positive strength of community forestry so far we observed in Nepalese context. But and how we how community forestry works is community forestry is there, the General Assembly is in the bottom, the forest user groups, they form the executive committee and they develop the operation plan, and that is get approved by the DFO based upon the Forest Act and Forest Regulation drafted by Ministry of Forest and Environment and in coordination with the Department of Forest. And the DFO's role is to support administratively and to provide some technical and institutional support to the forest user groups. There are some, federations. There are 7 federations, means the Federation of Community Forest User Groups. They are trying to connect all of the forest user groups within the country, and they are very strong. They advocate for the rights of the communities. They try to they try to resolve the conflict, and also trying to link with the external agencies, donors, and some other financial donors, and as well as with the markets. And several NGOs, Nepal Community Forestry is also been influenced through different NGOs and projects. They try to make their own models following the similar rules, and they have been backup supporting to the communities, and they have both institutional, technical, and also financial support to the communities, and also the market is now emerging through which the community forestry are generating income, and thus the community forestry these days is becoming a rural vehicle for rural development, and the governments that's why bring the new slogan like forest, community forest for prosperity in the Nepalese context. But so what are the different achievements? In summary, I should say there are only 4 different achievements through the community forestry in Nepal. One is the forest restoration, like our previous presentation also shows from using her empirical evidences, but several empirical research says highlighted that substantial achievement in the regeneration of the degraded hills is there, greenery is promoted. So the community forestry covers more than 1/3 of the country's forest area, and it has a huge contribution in restoring the forest resources in the hills. This is one of the biggest achievement in the last 30 years. So other achievement is the supporting the community development, infrastructure, social services, and livelihood benefit. So now the communities are well aware about their rights, and they have been generating a significant amount of income, community-based forest income through community forestry by selling the timbers, fieldwood, and other forest products. And they have been using that fund in rural development activities. So though the income of the different communities varies a lot, it is highly skewed. The communities with larger forest area, with the high value timber, they have been generating a lot of income, whereas those communities which are very in the rural sites and smaller areas with limited market has very minimum income. But in general, the community forestry income has been contributing a lot in community development activities, including the poverty reduction. This is the second achievement of the community forestry. The third one is a ecosystem restoration, ecosystem mitigation and adaptation to climate change. Community forestry is fostering synergies by increasing carbon stocks and controlling the loss of carbon. So it also contributes in improving the forest condition to help mitigate global climate change. And recently, Climate Adaptation Plan of Action, CAPA, is initiated in community forestry to protect and supply water in the village. So community forestry could also be the means in making decision on climate change adaptation and increase adaptive capacity of the communities. So the community forestry in turn is contributing to the effect of climate change. both in mitigation and adaptation. And last but not the least is the democratic resource governance. So the community forest user groups itself being institutions, it has been contributing, awareing the local communities. They have been forming the group. They have been doing their work very transparently. The rule of law is working there. Community forest user groups, EC committees, and even general members are accountable towards their roles, duties. And there is some good participation of the forest user households, and equitable sharing mechanisms, benefit sharing mechanism is also developed by the forest user groups so that it is functioning well. These are some achievement through the community forestry so far we have observed in Nepalese forest. Though there are a lot of differences in different community forestry user groups, but in summary, most of the community forestry user groups are doing good. So the last slide, I have one.
Excuse me.
Dr. Chhetri, we are running out of time.
Okay. Should I say the last one, or
maybe I think you can stop.
There are some challenges. Let me, it's one sentence.
Okay,
there are some challenges. One is the elite capture, and another is the power and benefit in practice. Though it is written there, the bureaucracy is trying to control the power, and there are some conflict. And these days, the people's interest to participate in community forestry management activities is decreasing. So then the forest-based enterprises has not yet been developed within the community forestry groups. These are the major challenges that we have been facing, and hope these challenges will be addressed by the government and the communities together in the days to come. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you, Chhetri sir. We have a few questions, so I just want your quick reply on those. The first question is from Dr. Erin. Her question is, how do the restrictions or rules from community forestry differ between buffer zone and other areas? It's in Q&A box.
How do they? Oh yeah, buffer zones. The community forestry areas, they have the full rights, to fix the price of the forest products, and also to regulate the forested activities for the community forest user groups. But buffer zones are, around the conservation areas. They have to follow the rules of buffer zone councils. Though the benefit goes to the communities, but the around 50%, I think, I'm not sure, of the benefit revenue has to be shared with the government or the buffer zone councils in the buffer zone community forest.